guys, coming up next on Breaking Bread, we're going to one of the most quaint German parishes in all of Queens.
I think in all of the dioceses. That's up next on Breaking Bread.
Breaking Bread, I'm Johanna, Botta.
And I'm Monsignor Jamie in the parish that Johanna is speaking about, the Sacred Heart in Glendale, Queens.
And here to tell us more about the parish of Sacred Heart, the pastor of the church, Father Fulham. We are technically in East Glendale, and this is predominantly a German population.
Before the Civil War, the German population, I think, even moving in. I think it was 1850, a man, I don't remember his name, but he had this whole tract of land, and he came from Glendale, Ohio, and since it was his whole piece of land here, he named it Glendale.
I guess he was a little homesick.
Yeah.
I hear that the original congregation gathered in a beer hall right here in a German beer hall.
Very German.
Good Germans always go to the beer halls. That's where they start and having the good times. Yeah, it was called, I think it was the Emerald Park Dance Hall, they called it.
Right.
Actually, it was a beer garden. And on Saturday night, when the festivities were over with, they would take the chairs out of the funeral home and they would take it all the way up to Myrtle Avenue and set up the chairs. And the deacon we have right now, his grandmother actually had the organ in her own home, and they used to roll it up the block up to Myrtle Avenue.
Now, is it true that the cross, the crucifix that you have here in the church, came from hung in the beer hall?
Yeah, it was actually in the beer hall.
Wow.
I don't know if the Germans had any problem with that, but there was a crucifixion going on while they were having good times. But they finally built here, they brought it here. It was intended that this church would only be a temporary one, and then we would, if you look down, if you leave the church and go down, you see we have a whole block empty, and that we call the meadow, and that's where really the bigger church was supposed to be built.
So
Right.
what happened?
Actually, the crash of 29, and I just think people felt that they just didn't want to, take the risk to go any further.
There's a few churches like that in our diocese.
Oh, yeah.
And one of them I know you were assigned to, and I was assigned there for 12 years, Mary Queen of Heaven.
Exactly.
They built the foundation, and then the crash hit, and the pastor, he had already collected all the money to build a larger church.
Right.
And he gave back all the money to the families because they needed to put food on their tables.
And that's what he did. And the standard joke out there was that because he didn't build the church, he built the
Right?
church.
He built the people, and he built the community.
people.
What's the best way that you could describe the commemorative brick program?
We started that, last year, and I'm not going to deny it was part of, an idea of fundraising, but it was also something that when we introduced it to the people, they were very, very receptive to it. By now, we have about 140 memorials. There's a lot more, too, coming. If we ever had to do the whole thing, we have enough for a room for about 1,000.
So people have their names and
It could be,
special occasions,
like
dates.
It's 3 lines, 18, possible characters across. It can be their about their marriage. It can be something about, some great event in their life. And it certainly many times in commemoration of those who have passed on.
So
Wow.
there's also a school here.
Yes. Started in 1940, actually. The Dominican sisters, staffed
Right.
it. It's interesting, the people here, some of their parents and their grandparents have actually gone to our school. There is a lot of connection with that.
So the neighborhood here, as you said, people, their parents and grandparents have gone to the school. So the community is a place where people, they remain here. They're not moving away.
No, and everybody is welcome here.
Sure.
If you look around, because in most of the German churches, a lot of brown. Brown is
Right.
very dark. So we put all the blue up there, and it made a big difference.
It brightens up the room.
It brightened it all up, and it brought up the brown. It made it
Right.
look nice, and all you can see on the all kind of things on the beams and so on. And so now when they look up, they feel they're looking up through the sky.
When you first walk in, it's such a warm feeling, like we said, and you feel at home here. And that's what the church should be, a home.
Even the face of the church from the outside, it's so different from
Right.
all the other churches out
It
there.
just looks.
It does look like a little country house, though, in the middle of
Yeah, right.
the country.
Everybody says, "Oh, I love your little church."
Like you said, it's not the building, it's not the structure, it's the people that make the church.
No, that's it, yeah.
Even if you have to have it at a beer garden.
Well, Father John, thank you so much.
Guys, don't go anywhere because up next we are going to eat some delicious German food.
Don't go away. Welcome back to Breaking Bread, and today we're in Glendale, Queens, and we're on the famous Myrtle Avenue.
This is where you'll find some of the best German food around. And here to get a real taste for German cooking, we are joined by owner and chef Warner Lehner here at, watch it, ZumStammtisch. No, Stammtisch.
Not quite, but it was really close.
All right, I'll take it. ZumStammtisch.
Everybody gets it wrong. That was it.
That was it. That was it.
ZumStammtisch.
All right. Well, thank you for
Where
having
are
us
we?
here
Very
today.
good, exactly.
So, Warner, what does the name ZumStammtisch mean?
Oh, you said it right.
Yeah,
See?
not bad, not bad. It actually means your own special table, loosely translated. In Germany, there are most German restaurants over there. They have a small table in the corner, usually like a little small round table, and that's where all the regulars go, and they sit and, well, of course, they drink beer and imbibe and have good food and play cards, and that's always been a tradition to have that little extra table for the special customers.
Right. So, Warner, this is a real family-owned
Yes,
business.
I mean, we opened up back in 1972. My father had started it back then when he immigrated from southern Germany. My brother Hans and I, we took over back in the 90s, and we've been doing it ever since. So the restaurant has been 42 years. The store that we're in now, we've only had for 3 years, but we've been doing really, really well with.
Now, this area was a German area for many, many years. It has changed, but you're one of the last German restaurants around.
We are, yes, we actually are one of the holdouts, but one of the beauties of it is you get so many different cultures and ethnicities coming into the neighborhood that have moved in recent years. And yeah, there were times years ago was German spoken in the streets
Right.
or whatever. You don't have that anymore, but you have the people that are interested in trying different cuisines.
Warner, before we get into the actual cooking part of the segment, I have to ask, what is this? Like, what are these?
Oh yeah, well,
Thanks.
these are smoked pork shanks, and in German they're called Schweinshaxen.
Well, I can't even
Yeah, let's look and try that one.
They were a hoof or
But
something.
they actually are, it's just over the hoof. Very traditional Bavarian dish.
Okay.
A lot of times you'll heat this up in the sauerkraut. You'll actually cook it inside sauerkraut, and
To give it
and the
flavor?
smoky flavors will come into the sauerkraut itself, of course.
Yeah.
Very, very traditional. Then the Landjägers we have up there also.
And these are called Landjägers?
Landjäger.
They look
yeah.
like
Landjäger.
sausage.
They are. It's a dried sausage.
Like a
And
beef
it's-
jerky.
Right. It's
But
kind of like
better.
a beef jerky, but of course better.
Beef on a stick. There
You
it
know,
is.
with a little bit of a caraway
Right.
flavor. They're actually really, really good. Something just to snack on.
Okay.
Okay, so let's get into the cooking. What
Yeah,
are we doing
absolutely.
today? 'Cause
Well, today we're going to be making Jägerschnitzel, which is
Veal?
a very, very popular German dish. Actually, the word schnitzel doesn't necessarily mean like
Yeah.
a veal, Wiener Schnitzel. All it means in German is cutlet.
And in Italian recipes, they'll have like scallopini.
Scallopini is
And
exact.
really, it's the cut. It could be veal. It could be beef. Normally, it's veal, but it's the cut and not the
Exact
dish.
same thing, exactly.
So what's first?
Okay, so what I have here, these are pork top rounds. Okay, so we're gonna do pork today. And what we usually do is we'll just start slicing off a piece. You can see here, it's all no fat
Would
whatsoever.
you mind if I get in there?
Oh no, please, please.
Okay, so now we'll butterfly this. Really, like, make a butterfly. Put wings on it. Let's see.
That's
An
how you
angel.
flatten it
See?
out? I thought we were
thicker
gonna like
parts.
beat it with
Right,
this.
just
Well-
hold, that's next.
Is that light enough?
A little too light. There you go.
See,
I've
learn
been working
something
out.
new.
I went to work out this morning.
I'm good, Fred, give it a good beating. There you go.
What's next?
Okay, so now that we do have them tenderized and the way we want them, now we bring them over to the kitchen part.
Okay.
careful now.
Careful.
Voila.
That's it. So now we're just going to give it a little bit of time. It's really just a couple of minutes on each side. What we do then is,
Then you cook this in beer.
then we cook this. See how nice
Let's
that
not
gets?
forget the schnitzel.
Yes, let's keep an eye on the schnitzels.
How'd you tell me about Oktoberfest? Because I did see some quite large mugs outside.
Yes, we have really,
Stein.
beer. Yes, the beer, of course, is a big tradition as part of Oktoberfest. The Oktoberfest itself actually originated from King Ludwig, and that was his wedding. It was King Ludwig's wedding. King Ludwig was kind of like the crazy king. He was the one that made all the fancy castles and whatever.
Right.
So what he did was he had a week-long wedding to his fiancée Teresa, and that became the actual Oktoberfest. A lot of people think it has to do with harvest or something like that. No, actually, it was from a wedding.
Okay, Warner.
Spätzle.
Okay, yes, the Spätzle. Like I had mentioned before, it's a really traditional dish in Germany. And of course, when times were a little bit rough, it was also something that you can make, without spending a lot of money.
Pasta.
Okay? It's like, it is pasta.
But the
It's
egg,
really
you have
what it
egg
is.
noodles.
Exactly.
What's this, like a ricer?
It's kind of like a ricer, yeah. It's got
Has
the
holes
holes
in the
are a little
bottom,
different, But
Okay.
it's basically the same thing. Just take some of this batter that we have already made.
Oh, and it's like
Oh,
so-
it's really gooey.
gooey.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that. Oh, yeah. It sticks to everything. There we go.
What do we do now?
Okay, now you
Put it
put
on
it
top of
right
there.
over the boiling water,
Okay, you want to mix it or?
and then you just kind of just press it in there.
So they're gonna be long noodles.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You think this is easy? Now I know why you gave me this job.
And then you just bounce it against the side of the pan. There you go.
Okay.
Perfect.
Do
So now
I
these-
actually?
You can let them
Go
float
in
up
there?
first.
Okay.
You can see how they're kind of coming up?
Yeah.
They all come up. And then you just spin them around a little bit. Okay, so now we've left them in here long enough. And really, it's just a matter of putting them right into the cold
So,
water.
cold
You
water.
want to shock them, yeah. You want to stop them from cooking
give me
because they
all the
might
hard
get a little
jobs.
mushy, whatever, So we're just... Flip around a few times. This way you get all the butter on it.
What a show off. Your turn.
Werner, thank you so much. This looks great.
So what do we have first here?
Well, we have, like we had prepared before, we have the Jägerschnitzel, but now we have a nice amount of gravy right on top, the Spätzle underneath that we pan fried, and on the side we always put the red cabbage.
So I'll take a little red cabbage here. Throw that right on top.
Right?
How is it?
This is delicious. And if you want to try this at home, here's a recipe. But if you're looking for a nice day out and enjoying some great German food, you can always come here. So here's the address. And don't go anywhere, because up next we've got Monsignor Jamie cooking one of his favorite recipes.
Prost.
Welcome back to Breaking Bread. And on today's cooking spot, we'll be cooking a little variation of an old favorite, veal saltimbocca. This will be made with chicken. So here we go. Here we have chicken instead of veal, prosciutto, some flour to dredge the chicken in, some butter to saute the onions, sage, white wine, parsley for garnishing, salt and pepper, and some chicken stock. With this dish, the first thing that we do is we take some fresh sage and we just put it on 4 breasts of chicken that I kind of butterflied a little bit and then patted down to make it a little bit thinner. So I spread out the sage on each piece of chicken. I put about 4 or 5 pieces on each one. Then take a piece of prosciutto right on the chicken and kind of tuck in the edges. I have my skillet on. And after we put the prosciutto on, we then have our skillet, which is hot. And now I put in about 2 tablespoons of butter. And just let that melt. I have some diced onions, just to give it a little flavor. And while that is melting and the onions are cooking, I then take the prosciutto and the chicken and I just flour it up. And then turn it over, shake off the excess flour. We then flour, put them right in the pan with the prosciutto facing up. Just takes 1 minute. What the flour does, it kind of creates like a barrier. Okay, we have that chicken sauteing here. We're going to cook this for about, I would say, a good 5 to 7 minutes on one side, and then we'll flip it over. Now it's going to turn a little brown because when you cook with butter, it has a lower burning point than it does oil. We'll take this up, we'll turn it back over so that the prosciutto is on the top side. And this dish here is a famous Roman dish, usually made with veal. As I said, we kind of did a little variation. And what it actually means is, Botta means jump in your mouth. So hopefully the taste, the sage, makes it jump in your mouth. What I do now is I just kind of wipe the inside of the pan, the butter that kind of turned brown. What I do now here is I throw in some white wine. And what we do is kind of deglaze the pan by taking all the flavors that remain in the pan and let that simmer for a moment. To get all those flavors, you kind of swirl the pan around. I'm going to throw in a little butter, let that cook down. Already you smell the wine and that butter and all the flavors, especially the sage and the fat from the prosciutto melting down into the pan. Now throw in some chicken stock, and I'm just going to raise the temperature a little bit and let that come to a boil, and then we'll simmer that, put the chicken back in, throw in a little bit of salt, a little bit of black pepper, boil that around the pan. You don't want to lose any flavor. You want that to reduce a little bit to get a little thick, and also to get all the flavors to kind of come together and meld together. After that's been cooking for about 5 minutes or so, put our chicken back in. Room in between the meat so all the sauce can really get on all sides of the chicken. Give it the flavor. I'll let that cook for a minute or so. And then what I'll do is I'll turn it over so that all the juices can be absorbed on the side of the prosciutto. And you could put this on a platter. You could have put some fresh vegetables, some nice green leaf vegetables on the side. And here we have our chicken ZumStammtish. If you like the recipe, here it is. If you would like to have one of your recipes featured here on Breaking Bread, you can write us at breakingbread@thesalesmedia.org.
Today we visited the parish of the Sacred Heart in Glendale, Queens, an area with great German roots, which can still be seen in some of the restaurants and customs of the area. The region of Germany called Bavaria is one of the largest Catholic areas of that country. The region is also proud to claim the oldest government in Europe. It is important for us to look back on the foundations of all of our cultures and ways of doing things in order to discover the strong Christian foundation which anchors it all. As a church, we too must always remember to look back at the roots of our faith, to the gospel message and life of Christ and his disciples. This reference helps ground us where we are and who we are called to be in Christ Jesus. This is Monsignor Jamie asking that together we continue to build the church by devoting ourselves to the community, prayer, the teaching of the apostles, and the breaking of the bread. May God bless you.